Okay, hello everybody. We are going to get started in just a few minutes while we wait for some people to come online. Thank you so far for coming on in and happy National Physical Therapy Month. I'm Stephanie Nielsen. I'm a doctor of physical therapy here at Medical Support Services in Mount Pleasant, and I'll be talking today about home learning ergonomics. While we wait for some people to join us, since this is National Physical Therapy Month, we can talk a little bit about what us pediatric physical therapists and physical therapy assistants do and what we can offer you through medical support services. Pediatric PTs and PTAs are motor development specialists. Our goal is to optimize movement to improve you and your child's life, whatever that happens to mean for you. We do that through purposeful play. That means that we tailor play to what your child already likes to do and what they're already interested in to help them build strength and balance and coordination that they don't already have. We also implement strategic positioning. We work with orthotists and any necessary bracing that they might need. We make seating and mobility recommendations, and we work on preventing any further injuries or muscle imbalances. Overall, our goal is to instill confidence in kiddos and empower their caregivers, whoever that may be, parents, teachers, other therapists. Okay, if you guys are already on, go ahead and comment where you're from, whether you're a parent, a grandparent, a caretaker, a teacher, or a therapist. You can also comment how old the children you are, the children you have, that you're watching, or that you're trying to set up their virtual learning environment for, just so I can get an idea of who is on. And if you're just joining, I am Stephanie. I'm a doctor of physical therapy at Medical Support Services. I'm coming to you from one of our beautiful new treatment rooms in our brand new Oak Creek clinic. And we're going to talk today about how to set up your kiddo's virtual learning space. So as physical therapists, we call this ergonomics. Ergonomics is the science of how a person interacts with their environment. This applies to like an employee at their office, or in our case, a student sitting at their desk. Adopting these ergonomic techniques can improve your child's educational environment and help prevent injuries. So please feel free to ask any questions in the comments as we go through, and I'll try to get to all of them. Okay, let's start from the top. So for our purposes today, let's call this setup that I'm about to describe your primary seating position. It's what your caregiver will set up for the child to naturally go into anytime that they sit down at the computer. And we definitely expect kids to move around within their primary seating position, as they should. Kids move, kids, don't want to sit. They might lean their head down, but we want you as parents and caregivers to set this up to optimize what their learning experience will be and that kind of baseline for them to always go back to. The best way to prevent injury is to avoid any prolonged positioning, even when it's in the best posture possible. But if they're going to be sitting for a long time and learning, then let's get them in that good postural position. So first and foremost, a well-lit place is important to focus and prevent eye strain. You can imagine that when it's harder to see the screen, your child's going to get really close to the screen, which will create more strain on their neck. For that lighting, natural light is the best for this. So if you're like me and you have a space in your home where there's some natural light, you could see your child next to a window, would be a great option, or next to an open patio door. For me in this office, we have some nice open windows that you can see me using for some natural light. And if you don't have that available, then direct light over them is also great. Just make sure that you're preventing as much strain as possible, and glare from the screen. So avoiding any glare from that natural direct light while getting it as close to your kiddo as you can. Good lighting can improve your focus and decrease the fatigue felt from staring at a screen for a long period of time, something that we're all pretty familiar with right now. So the next thing, moving down from your light, let's go to your eye level. So the first thing you want to think about is, or eye level, is reducing strain on the neck, similar to when you're not leaning over to look at the screen because of your eye strain. Looking down for prolonged periods increases your risk of neck and back pain and can even cause minor strains and muscle tightness in a phenomenon that we tend to refer to as text neck. As physical therapists, we're seeing these issues a lot more frequently as people are looking down either at a computer screen or at their phone throughout the day, and the longer amount of time that you spend in that position, the more strain you're putting on your neck. That strain is partially due to the weight of your head. When your head's in good alignment, with your ears directly above your shoulders, it puts just about 10 to 12 pounds of strain on your neck, which is only the strain from the weight of your head. The further down you look, the more weight that you're going to put on it. So like I said, this nice good alignment with ear over the shoulders, that's about 10 to 12 pounds of strain. As I move it a little bit down lower, this is about 15 degrees. That's about 27 pounds of strain on your neck muscles. 30 degrees, that's 40 pounds. 60 degrees, picture looking down at your phone, that's 60 pounds of strain on your neck. So you can imagine how that would cause pain and muscle tightness when you're in that position for a prolonged period of time. So that important thing to focus on for your kids is making sure that they're eye level with the screen that they're looking at. Moving down the body even further, the rest of your child's alignment should follow what we call the 90-90-90 rule. So this is a 90-degree angle. If you guys remember your geometry from school, that's the angle that we're going to be looking at for your child's elbows, their hips, and their knees. So while they're sitting in a chair, ideally your elbows are at your side and your wrists are gently resting on the keyboard. Hips should be at 90 degrees instead of leaning forward and back, and your knees should also be at 90 degrees. All of this is to instill a good posture. Good posture is actually the best injury prevention that you can find. For some kids, that comes really naturally. Their strength and the length of their muscles is already in a good position. It's very natural for them to sit up straight and to have good core strength and to have loose muscles in the places where a lot of us get tight with that text neck that we were talking about. For other kids, it takes a little bit of intervention from a physical therapist in order to have that good posture and to stay in a good posture. If you think that your kiddo might need a little bit of extra help, I encourage you to talk to your pediatrician about getting a referral for physical therapy at Medical Support Services. And that way we can help out with that strengthening. Maybe their core muscles or their back muscles need some help, or they might have some length, tightness in their neck that we can help them get into that good posture. So moving all the way down to the feet, this is a tough one for a lot of kids and parents in this home learning environment. Often the chairs that we need to give our kids are adult chairs and it leaves their feet swinging. It's really important that your setup has support for the feet. This can involve purchasing either a child-sized chair where your child's feet naturally touch the ground and keep your knees and hips in a good 90-90 angle. If you choose not to purchase a child-sized chair, you can also just put something under the feet so that their feet are supported, resting on the ground. That could involve a box, a stack of textbooks, a smaller chair to go underneath their feet, or a large pot, whatever you have at home to ensure their hips and knees are at that 90-degree angle, supporting the feet so that they're flat on the ground. So now that you know what your child should look like, let's talk a little bit about your seating choice. This is a question I get a lot from parents, and I want to assure everyone that as long as you follow what we were previously talking about, all these guidelines, then the seat will be great, as long as you're in that good postural support for your primary seating position. And you can adapt your seat to fit any of these requirements by adding some support. So let's start back at the top and talk about what kinds of support you might need in order to make a learning environment ideal for your child. So at the top, to make your computer eye level, you can use something like I have here. This is a riser, and it gets your screen up to the desired height. So here we have a home setup where we have a chair and a desk, and we can bring the computer up to eye level using a riser. If you don't have one of these at home, you can think of like a textbook or a box similar to what you'd use to raise your feet so that their eyes are at level. The highest chance of injury is being in that undesired position for too long. So if you are able to get their eyes up at least for a portion of the day, they might move it throughout the day. We know how kids are, then that's the best chance. The next step is that when your eyes are at an equal level, next your elbows should be at an equal level. So you can imagine if you have a laptop like me, that your screen and your keyboard are pretty closely connected. So either your screen is too high for you to type at a 90-degree angle with your elbows, or your keyboard is too low and you have to look down at your screen in that way. So something that you can do is I have this keyboard attachment. It has a attachment for my computer, so I can place this down at desk level and keep my laptop screen up on top so that you're preventing that eye strain while also keeping your elbows at 90-90. Now, if that's not something that you can purchase, like I said, that's totally okay. Your best position is your next position. So you can switch back and forth between not having that eye strain and keeping your elbows at a 90-degree angle. Your kids won't mind moving around quite a bit. That's going to feel really natural to them to continue to be in different positions throughout the day. So don't feel like you have to go out and buy this. It's just a nice option just in case. All right, so we've talked about rising up your computer to your eye level height. We've talked about having your keyboard down at a 90-degree angle. And let's go back to our seating positioning. So as we talked about a little previously, there's the 90-90-90 rule. That is for your elbows to be at a 90-degree angle, your hips to be at a 90-degree angle, and your knees to be at a 90-degree angle. The challenge we come across is if you're not using a child-sized chair, then your back might not be all the way up to the back. Your child might be leaning too far forward or leaning too far back. And you really want to keep their hips at that 90-degree angle. So something that you can use is a pillow behind the back of the chair. Imagine I'm sitting this far forward and there's lots of space back. I would love to just lean back and work on my computer like this. You can come along, take a nice big pillow behind their back here, and now you're in a better setup. You can see that my elbows are at 90 degrees. If I had a screen here, my eyes would be at an even level, and my hips are at a good 90-degree angle. So you want to ensure that you have that happy medium where you don't want the chair to be too high so that their hip angle would fall down. You don't want their foot plate to be too low or too high so that their angle would change. So let's talk about that foot plate first. We have something with us, a big block that we can put down for your feet. Like I said, you can use any Amazon box that you have at home or a stack of textbooks. Just be careful if you are using a textbook that it doesn't slip as your kid inevitably kicks them over. But you just want to make sure that while you're sitting with this box, you're keeping all of your angles in the same place. So this box would be too high for me because my hips are not at that 90-degree angle. When I set them on the floor, you can see that hips are 90 and knees are 90. So you just need to adjust the height of the foot plate that you're using for your child in order to make sure that their hips, knees, and elbows are all at the 90-degree angle. So all of these rules remain the same whatever type of seating you'd like to try. One of the most common alternative seating methods that parents ask us about as physical therapists is a therapy ball, which looks like this. Sometimes called a yoga ball or a medicine ball, different things depending on where you find them. And I just want to say that therapy balls are great for encouraging strengthening and holding good posture, and I would call it what it is, a strengthening tool, as opposed to a seating option. I say this because if your child needs to work on their posture, they'll get fatigued the same as if they were working out. It's a great tool for a short time throughout the day as an alternative seating position, but maybe not necessarily as their primary seat. That being said, when you use a therapy ball, the same rules of ergonomics apply. Ensure that lighting, eye level, elbows, hips, and knees are in good posture and that their feet are supported. You want to check that the therapy ball is appropriately inflated and that your kiddo will be safe on the ball. So it should look like, if we get rid of our chair, when I sit on the ball, my elbows should still be at this 90-degree angle. My hips should still be at 90. My knees should still be at 90. My feet should still be planted on the floor. So whatever alternative seating method that you use, make sure you're following those similar principles. Good lighting, eyes in the right place, and 90-90-90. Feet touching the ground. Great, so now you have a good baseline for your primary seating position. Let's talk about how to maintain it throughout the day. To me as a physical therapist, this is the most important part of this talk. Ideally, within your kiddo's school schedule, they should take a break from the screen and their primary seating position every 20 to 30 minutes. A very good rule is for at least 10 minutes away every 20 to 30 minutes, with at least 2 of those minutes being moving around, doing something else completely different. I love the idea of making a brain break station for your kids. Come up with a list of activities. You can write them on popsicle sticks, on pieces of paper, on painted rocks. Put them in a jar in a specific place away from the screen that your kids have to go to every 20 to 30 minutes. Those activities can be anything as simple as do 100 jumping jacks, or go outside and run around the house twice, or a random dance party, or run up and down the stairs. Some of them can include unloading the dishwasher, going and getting a glass of water, stretching a certain body part. You could include breathing techniques, meditation, yoga. It's really up to you and your child's interest. Google searches are really helpful in coming up with ideas, but I encourage you to ask your kids what they might like to do during that time. I'm sure they'll come up with some great answers too. While there are good YouTube videos to find brain breaks, I encourage parents to remember that this is meant to be a break from the screen. So maybe find some ideas from YouTube and then put them on your popsicle sticks or whatever you're going to use, so that watching the video isn't necessary. So you can really get a good break away and move around as much as you can. So try to let as much of the break as possible, weather permitting, be outside as well. Both exercise and nature are really important for both focus, retention, and brain development, which is awesome during the day as your brain break from school. They're going to retain what they learned that day, they're going to be able to focus more later in the day, and you really couldn't ask for more. So go ahead and comment any ideas you have for brain breaks that you want to share with other parents or therapists or any other caretakers or even teachers who are watching and may want some ideas that they can incorporate into their normal day. Anything that you can think of, go ahead and throw in the comment section. The bottom line of all of this is that your best position is the next position that you're going to be in. Any type of movement throughout the day is the best thing that you can do to ensure that your virtual learning is working. As a parent or caregiver, your job is to set up that primary seating location. Your kiddo's naturally going to move in and out of that position. Don't feel like you need to be the posture police or that they can't take a break on the couch for some learning. All of those kind of policing methods cause a lot of frustration. So you should just trust that you've set up a really good learning environment and your kids are going to figure out the rest. All right, let me just see if there are any questions. Anyone right now? Feel free to add questions later if you have any. But I hope this was helpful. You can go back and watch this video at any time on Medical Support Services Facebook page, and you can save this video to your own personal Facebook. Be sure to like Medical Support Services Incorporated on Facebook for updates on how our kids are doing and more useful content like videos, blogs, and events that we might be hosting at Medical Support Services. Thank you so much.